Hey there, I'm Scott. Welcome back to my home and my kitchen. Over the last 10 months of doing these videos, I've had a lot of requests. And a few weeks ago, I did a video on shrimp po' boys, and everyone seemed to really like it. But I had a lot of questions about my deep fryer, and people wanting to know where I got it, what it was. So I wanted to do another recipe that used the deep fryer. It makes great food. But also answer some other emails of people asking me to show my recipe for fried catfish and hush puppies. I was born and raised in North Louisiana, and fried catfish is delicious up there. You get it fresh right out of the pond usually, and it's really great. So we're going to show you those two things, my deep fryer and fried catfish. So let's get started. So if you've been watching my videos, you know that I do like to fry just in regular enamel cast iron or cast iron, and I usually do that outside like you saw in the fried chicken video. But indoors, I usually tend to use a residential version of a deep fryer. It's electric, that heats the oil up perfectly, there's very little cleanup, and I actually use this machine by Emerald, made by Tefal, and it is the best. I did a lot of research. What's great about it is it has like one-touch button operations up here, so you can set the temperature. But what I love most about it is this little function. When you're done frying, you flip this little knob over. When the oil cools, it drains down into an airtight container, and it's kept there. It's filtered and kept there until the next time you're ready to use it. You just slide this out like a drawer, pour the oil back in, and you can reuse that over and over until the little indicator light tells you to change that oil to fresh. It's really fantastic. And everything else except for the electrical stuff goes into the dishwasher, so that's super fantastic. Okay, let's get started on the meal. So fried catfish and hush puppies, it's going to be delicious and really, really easy to get together. So we're going to start today with the hush puppies, which need just a little time to sit before we fry them. So I have two bowls, one bowl for my dry ingredients and one bowl for my wet ingredients. So this is basically a combination of some cornmeal, some flour, baking soda, baking powder, some other vegetables, and I'm going to list those right now so you can know those proportions. So you just take all those ingredients that were just listed and put those in a large bowl. Then in your wet bowl, incorporate all of these ingredients together. So once you get all those wet ingredients into your bowl, just take a fork. It's easy, it's no big deal. Whisk all that together until it's nicely incorporated, and just add that right into your dry ingredients. With a spatula or a spoon, combine all this until well combined in a nice thick batter. Alright, so the wet and dry ingredients are nicely incorporated, a really nice thick batter. Let that sit 10-15 minutes while we get the rest of this stuff all put together. Now we're going to start on the catfish. And I actually went over to the seafood market and found some really great catfish. You can find this pretty much all over the country now. Now that I live in Portland, I see it in the fish market quite often. So I picked up 2 pounds. That's 4 8-ounce fillets. The bones and all that have been removed. We're going to set that just to one side. And in a bowl, I've added 1/2 of a cup of flour. And to that, I want to add 1 tablespoon of just an all-purpose Cajun seasoning, and 1 teaspoon of salt. If you want a little bit more salt on that, you can do another 1/2 teaspoon. So we're going to combine all this together. We've gotten all those dry ingredients just whisked together. And the fillets, you could definitely fry these and make really big pieces of catfish. I'm actually going to cut these fillets in half and then in half again, so we have quarters. They just fry up nicely, and they're sort of like manageable just to pick up at the table with your fingers. But the large fillets, like I said, are just fine. So I'm going to get these chopped up, then we'll be ready to fry. We've gotten the catfish all cut into these little quarters of the fillet. So just into the flour, and this is not like breading chicken. We don't want a thick coating of the flour on this. That's why we're not doing it in an egg wash, then in the flour mixture. But I'm just getting it in there, getting it completely coated. And then just gonna lay it right on this sheet tray that I have. Once I get them all coated, we'll head over to the fryer and get started cooking these up. We've gotten all the fillets nicely coated with the flour mixture. I'm gonna head over to the fryer, get these started. I have the oil heated to between 360 and 375. If you're not using a electric deep fryer like this and you're using a pot filled with oil, make sure you're using a deep fry thermometer and checking that, because the temperature of the oil is very important. Otherwise your crust is going to be too soggy and just not delicious. So into the oil, I'm going to drop the basket in. Just one at a time. You'll have to work in batches with this. So I'll do about half in this batch, take those out, let them and set them on the sheet tray lined with the wire rack, and then start the other batch. And these will take about 6 to 8 minutes probably. I'm just going to watch them. When they get nicely golden brown, we'll be able to take them out and start the next one. The timer just went off. It was exactly 8 minutes. Get this out of the oil and right onto your wire rack. Look how perfectly golden brown that is. It's perfectly cooked. Back in with the basket, and we're going to finish up this second batch. The second batch just finished. It was in exactly 8 minutes. And that will come right out onto the sheet tray with the rest of it. Now we'll get started on the Hushpuppies. Okay, the same fryer, same oil. But by the way, I'm using peanut oil in this. And if you're not using an electric fryer like this, make sure you only fill your pot halfway full, because that oil does expand and can make a mess on your stovetop if you're not careful. So for the Hushpuppies, I have those. They've been sitting for about 15 minutes, the batter. And I have a nice size ice cream scoop. It's probably just under 1/4 cup. And I've lowered the basket down into the oil. And just one scoop at a time, I'm going to drop this right into the oil and let it sit in there for 2 minutes. You might have to use the tongs to sort of move those Hushpuppies around so they cook evenly, but they should do just fine. Fill that up, not too full, but get a nice layer going. And after 2 minutes, we'll get them out and we'll start the next batch. The first batch of the Hushpuppies are perfectly done, exactly 2 minutes. Right out onto your wire rack. And they are perfectly browned. Nice and crispy on the outside, but they're going to be moist and tender on the inside. The basket's going to go back in. I'm just going to continue frying off the rest of these Hushpuppies. The timer just went off on the last batch. 2 minutes exactly. And right out onto our sheet tray. So while you have your hot oil, it would be a great time if you wanted to fry some French fries. But for what we're doing tonight, this is going to be perfect. So let me get it plated up. Just going to get the rest of these Hushpuppies onto our platter. And you guys, that looks like a good platter of fried food for sure. Something you can't do every day, but it is a nice treat. So we have our Hushpuppies and our fried catfish, and I made my tartar sauce, which you can find that recipe on my shrimp po' boy video. And guys, this looks really good, and I've got to give it a try. It's delicious. You really should try this. It was really easy to get together, and it'll serve your family or your friends really well. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching, and if you have a question about this video or want me to prepare a recipe for you, please feel free to email me. My address is scottinoregon@comcast.net. Alright, have a good day, enjoy the fried catfish. Bye.